So I'm doing a bit of research, yeah? I'm looking into design, decision making. I ended up looking at national flags and the symbolism of their colors and iconography. One flag definitely stood out from the rest though, and for obvious reasons. Turns out the national flag of the country Mozambique is the only flag in the world to have a modern day weapon on it, that being the AK-47. But why? Is it to display signs of aggression, war, and violence, or is it a sign of peace, protection, and security? Because it all depends on who's holding the gun, and realistically, it could be either. Between 1498 and 1975, Mozambique was a colony of Portugal. Like most European colonialism, Portugal's interests were driven by many factors, including competition and the quest for economic resources, introducing changes to the region such as Christianity and the Portuguese language. However, due to what seems to be the innate nature of colonization, these changes also led to the suppression of local culture, tradition, and slavery of indigenous people for labor in plantations and places such as mines. Mozambique suffered a tyrannical period marked by violence, exploitation, and conflict for close to 500 years. And due to the immense suppression and discrimination, several nationalist groups emerged, including the Mozambique Liberation Front, otherwise known as Frelimo. And it was in 1964 that armed resistance against the Portuguese was initiated by Frelimo. So at the time, Portugal was already facing multiple independence movements across their African colonies, and so they were quick to respond with a military campaign to prevent the uprising. The Cold War also influenced this conflict, with Frelimo receiving support from socialist bloc countries and Portugal, as a NATO member, receiving aid from Western allies. It's almost like history repeats itself. So throughout this war, Frelimo's tactics mainly focused on guerrilla warfare, employing hit and run, ambushes, and sabotage to ultimately weaken Portuguese military presence. Rifles such as the AK-47, SKS carbines, and other Soviet or Chinese-made firearms were commonly supplied and readily available for this fight. It's estimated that 50,000 people died, even though it's hard to get that number exactly, including at least 10,000 Frelimo militants and 3,500 Portuguese soldiers, the rest being civilian casualties. This war and loss of life caused significant destruction, displacement, and famine throughout the country. When Mozambique was about to gain independence from Portugal in late 1974, a new flag was adopted. It was a dark green, black, yellow, horizontal tricolor with white borders and a triangle on the left-hand side. And this is because it's a flag that was similar to the flag of Frelimo, who secured successful negotiations of independence in 1975. The flag of the People's Republic of Mozambique was erected shortly after, and it's here where we see the unusual black-lined cogwheel, hoe, AK-47, and open book with a red 5-pointed star in the top left-hand corner. In 1983, a temporary flag was adopted following the same iconography, but with the addition of a larger yellow star to represent Marxism. And in that same year, they adopted what is now their current flag. The green stripe represents the land. The white border represents peace. The black stripe symbolizes the African continent, and the yellow represents the country's wealth. The hoe is said to symbolize the importance of labor and agriculture within the country, and despite what is said to stand for peace and independence, the AK-47 still contributes towards the struggle for freedom, as almost instantly after the end of their colonialization, they encountered resistance from the armed rebel group Renamo. The AK, alongside other rifles and smaller firearms, played a large role, again, in the continued conflict. conflict, used to leverage terror to enforce control. Renamo forced conscriptions, coercing new recruiters to murder their own family members, with other common atrocities ranging from facial and bodily mutilations, rape, and burning civilians alive. Even to this day, the country still faces violence, such as implication of kidnappings for ransom and ongoing attacks by an Islamic State group named Al-Shabaab. The AK-47, obviously, from a design perspective, incites violence, cruelty, and warfare, and so in 2005, a new flag was proposed. However, the government, that being still Free Limo, rejected it. And so the AK-47 still remains, giving Mozambique a worldly uniqueness across every other national flag. Yes, their conflict is recent, and most suggest the AK-47 is a direct representation to their revolt, a testament to the country's history and struggle faced during the fight for freedom. And whilst this can be true, and it is true, at the same time, peace and freedom is something they are still yet to acquire. The AK-47 continues to murder, terrorize, and overall wreak havoc across the country and into the future. So what do you think? Should they redesign it?